Dr. Mary and Carol with Genevieve. Thank you guys for joining us for the webinar this afternoon. We're going to get started shortly. We just want to do a few housekeeping events just to kind of give you guys some updates on some things. If you guys have any questions at any time, as you can see to the right of your screen, we're actually going to have a chat box. Dr. Carol and I will not be able to see that during the actual webinar because when we bring our full screen up, we're only going to be able to see the presentation. But at any time, you can feel free to ask any questions. At the end of that webinar, we're going to go ahead and answer the questions as best as possible. We're going to try to keep the webinar to about 30 minutes today and then open the floor to answer as many questions as we can throughout this process. Again, we're going to wait just about another 30 seconds. We'll go ahead and get started. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the room, you can. Feel free to introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from and who you are. And then we'll get started in about the next 10 or 15 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and move on to screen. Great to meet everybody that's here today. I hope you guys enjoy the material, and then we'll get started shortly. So again, thanks everybody for joining us today for our webinar on Nutrigenomics and weight loss. My name is Tavis Piatola, and we also have Dr. Mary and Carol with the company Genevieve. Again, if you have questions at any time, feel free in that right box to ask any questions. At the end of the webinar, once we're done, we'll have a chance to answer those questions. What I'm going to do now is turn it over to Dr. Carol. He's going to talk a little about the science of Genevieve, and then I'm going to go into more of the program itself, as well as some other features for our healthcare providers.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you've joined us. We hopefully will give you some information that will improve your outreach to your patients, and we'll begin with some of the science associated with what we do here at Genevieve. Now, the recognition that nutrients have the ability to interact and modulate molecular mechanisms has been known for some time. And those underlying physiological functions has prompted the revolution that we see in the field of nutrition. Some of you might be familiar with the term nutrigenomics and nutrigenetics. And so nutrigenomics essentially is identifying the genetic variations associated with nutrition, and nutrigenetics is actually the impact that those variations have over a hereditary period of time. What I want to talk to you first about is the evidence from the American Heart Association, the American College of Cardiology and Obesity Society. They put together guidelines for managing weight in adults. And this is based on a report that a task force of experts in the field put together. And the goal was to develop undisputed clinical practice guidelines and recommendations based on the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, rigorous systematic evidence reviews of effective weight loss strategies. All right, the evidence is derived from multiple randomized clinical trials sufficient to recommend the treatments will be useful and effective. So the two critical questions here that they addressed and that are important in nutrigenomics is what diets of differing forms and structure, that is the macronutrient content, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, the quality and the density of the nutrients, energy and dietary patterns, or other dietary weight loss strategies such as meal timing, portion control, achieve or maintain weight. All right. And the second question was, what is the effective or efficient effectiveness of the comprehensive lifestyle intervention, that is physical activity, behavioral therapy for weight loss? So these are the two critical questions that the panel addressed, and this was in 2013. Our program Next slide. Our program is designed back in 2010, 2011, and we just recently discovered this evidence. And we found that in the study, in the evidence that they presented, the class 1, which you'll see up at the upper left, is the category in which the benefit much greater outweighs the risk, and that the procedure treatment should be performed or administered. And if you see in blue, level A, that indicates that there have been multiple populations evaluated and the data has been derived from multiple randomized clinical trials or meta-analysis. Okay. So keeping that in mind, I want to point out that the classification or recommendation of class 1 of grade A with high evidence has indicated that a diet, if you look at the bottom of the slide, the diet in which energy intake is less than 1,200 to 1,500 calories for women, 1,500 to 1,800 calories for men, that the groups are targeted, and that is the macronutrients are targeted while achieving this energy deficit. Also that the weight loss will occur within 3 to 5%, and that the weight loss is maximum at 6 months, with smaller losses over the next 2 years.
We are going to stop for 1 second. We are receiving some information that some of the slides are not showing up in the order. So I'm going to try to make a change real quick, and we'll get that corrected really shortly. So just stick with us for a second. We're going to try to make a few changes and see why some people are not seeing the slides on their computer like they should. Okay, I've made some changes. Can you let us know in the box? Let us know if you see some of those changes that we've made to the slides. I'm going to come and look back and see. Apologize, I'm not sure why this is not working.
Might be network interference too.
And one of the things we're concerned about is we have some pretty bad weather in the area, and I don't know if that's causing some of our network to have some issues with showing. We did a test yesterday and everything worked fine. Okay, you're saying Tanya's saying her slides were fine and are now blurry. Jimena's saying perfect. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to use this. I'm going to go ahead and open the window up again and get it so we can enlarge this. Okay. We're going to go ahead and enlarge this again. I'm going to give me 1 second. I'm going to enlarge this and see if that helps make things a little bit better for you guys. All right, we're going to let this stay at this slide for just a few seconds, and just want to get some feedback. Do you see, if you see the slide that says scientific evidence, table 1, applying classification of recommendation, it's going to have different color charts. So let us know if you see that slide. If so, we'll go ahead and pick up here, and we'll let Dr. Carroll continue. I'll leave this just for a few more seconds because there's usually a delay from us speaking and then what you guys hear. Okay, let's.
No. I'll probably wait a little longer.
Okay, so it seems like, and I don't know how to fix the blurriness that you guys are seeing on your side.
Sometimes
some people are saying their slides are good. Some people are still saying they're blurry. I'm going to do one thing real quick that I think can fix that real fast. Oh, okay. This might alter the, okay. I made a quick adjustment.
That's gonna alter.
I made an adjustment to the slides. And let us know if that's better for you guys. We changed the format a little bit to see if that would reduce the blurriness.
So just let them know you might see some format issues.
And is this, and it might be just that slide. I think that slide has been a slide that's been a little bit blurry. I'm going to go to a different slide for you guys and see if that works. So that slide's kind of been just a big slide. Let us know if this slide is a little bit better for you guys to see. This would be a little bit better overall. We had to increase the diameter, so it may overlap a little bit. But let us know if you see this slide, has this reduced the blurriness? We made some changes to the format. We're having some bad weather on this side of in Louisiana, so it may be affecting our network a little bit. So I'll leave this up for about 5 more seconds, and just please provide us with some feedback, and we'll go ahead and continue with the webinar. Okay, good. Seems like it's been better. We're going to continue. Seems like the personal picture is just because we're connected to Google. We'll get, that's part of the webinar software. We're going to go ahead and continue from this slide with Dr. Carroll, and we'll continue the webinar. It seems like we fixed some of the technical difficulties we had. We apologize about that.
Okay, all right. So my point in bringing this up is that our strategy, which we'll get into momentarily, is a diet that provides reduction in energy. We target food groups, macronutrients. Our weight loss in a trial that we performed showed a 3 to 5% reduction in weight over the time that we conducted the study. And also, in part of this slide you can't see, but the lifestyle. So lifestyle is important, and those include reduction in portion sizes. That is at least a 500 calorie per day reduction. Also, increase in physical activity. We all know that aerobic activity for at least 150 minutes per week is important. And also regularly monitor your activity and your eating behavior. Those are important considerations that this study provided. And each of these points to a classification 1, which means that there's a high benefit versus the risk. The benefit is substantial. That means it gave it a grade A. And that the evidence supporting this is very high from the panel from the American Heart Association and College of Cardiology. Early on, we looked at the evidence that was in research at the time, back in 2010, 2011, and actually joined in partnership with the Harvard School of Public Health. And what some of their evidence showed was that 76% more weight was lost from patients or participants in the study who were on a diet that was appropriate for their genotype. So what we're looking at are two genotypes, TT and CC. TT is the no-risk genotype, and CC is the risk genotype. And so these individuals who are on a low-carb, high-fat diet, low-carb being about 35%, high-fat at 40%, the no-risk group lost 76% more weight on that diet than the risk group, which points to the fact that this study shows that if you're given a macronutrient content that was appropriate for your genetics, you will see better overall weight loss evidence. So that is a strategy that we have taken here at Genevieve. We're looking at employing leaders from around the world. Go to the next slide, to help us to understand the genetic variations and how they affect diet, and then incorporate that in a program. So here are some of the evidence from our clinical trial we put together with a group here in Louisiana. And the volunteers, we had initially about 70 volunteers, and 38 remained with the program after 12 weeks. What we discovered was after the 12 weeks, there was an initial loss of weight at 4 weeks of 60 and 43% of their initial weight, greater than the individuals who were on a non-genetically matched diet. So we provided them with our food. We genotyped everyone, and we provided the food that matched to random selection of individuals. And then we also provided the food to individuals that were not genetically matched. And this is the difference that we discovered over that 12-week period. Also, the overall pounds lost difference between treated, that is those who were on a genetic diet, versus the controls, those who were not on a genetic diet, went up to 7.1 pounds in that 12-week period, and overall 26% overall weight reduction in 12 weeks. Yep. All right, and we not only looked at weight, we looked at waist reduction. And so similarly, we saw a tremendous amount of waist reduction in inches initially in that over the non-genetically matched participants, from 56% all the way down to 33 and then 3% at 10 weeks. And also, if we looked at the overall inches lost, it's not centimeters, but inches lost, we see 31% overall waist reduction in that 12-week period. These are the groups we compared to a similar study conducted by Atkins, Zone, Weight Watchers, and Ornish. We had a very similar population, mean age. We had fewer men, more women. The BMI and overall body weight were very close, and also waist circumference. And so in the changes after 3 months were very comparable. We saw a reduction of 1.3 BMI units, 7.1 pounds, and 1.8 inches on average over the 3-month period of time. So comparably, the BMI and weight loss and loss in waist circumference is suggestive of our target, which is to focus on fat loss, not just weight, but also fat loss and the maintenance of muscle mass. So we looked at the Genevieve versus the non-genetically determined diets. That would be the Atkins, Zone, Weight Watchers, and Ornish, and looked at the change in weight over the length of the study, and we saw a 1.5 pound change per week, which was much greater than the others. And what most importantly, we see a 36% compliance. We provided the food. The food is designed to encourage and enforce compliance, and we think that is very important to help an individual meet their weight loss goals. So in developing our program, we listed the advice and the direction of a panel of scientific advisors. Steve Zeisel, from professor in the Department of Nutrition at UNC, Professor Barbara Ainsworth at Arizona State, professor in exercise and wellness, Professor Daniel Pomp in the genetics, nutrition, and cell and molecular physiology at UNC, Dr. David Katz, who is the director of the Yale Preventative Center Research Center and president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and Dr. Ruth DeBusk, who was instrumental in actually getting our program up and running, as her background is in dietetics and genetics, and she correlates the importance of providing a diet that matches one's particular genetic profile. So from this group and from the evidence in the literature, we sought to collect a number of genetic variations that point to diet efficiency, exercise efficiency, and also impact on eating behavior. We wanted to have a set of criteria that we had to meet in order to make the selection of these genetic variations, or SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms. And those criteria are function, impact, weight association, human intervention studies, and also the ability to apply this to a diet and lifestyle change. And so the test results of our SNP panel is entered into our patent-pending proprietary algorithm to determine an individual's ideal meal program and exercise requirements. And so our program consists of a number of different stages, and I believe Tavis will carry on from here. And if you have any questions, again, just type them in to the text, and we can answer them as we conclude our program.
Thanks, Dr. Carroll. What I want to do now is just kind of go through the Genevieve program, explain to you guys what we do, how it works, and also show you a lot of different information about the specifics of our program. So we are a DNA testing company. With the Genevieve program, it's a simple cheek swab, basically, that is mailed back to our CLIA certified lab. As Dr. Carroll mentioned, we test for 22 different SNPs that go through a proprietary algorithm that we've worked with our science team to come up with, that's based on the data. We have a detailed report that basically goes through diet, exercise, and also eating preference. The recommendations based on the results of that test will show you the 4 different types of diets that we recommend. That's not basically recommended, but once someone is tested, the results that they receive will give them based on 4 different types of diets. Most importantly, though, with that report, as a healthcare provider, you will receive this into a Watchdocs folder. This is a HIPAA-compliant server that protects the data and makes sure that all of the information that's provided to you as the healthcare provider is secure. Also, we'll discuss our customized meal plan program. So based on the results of the test, we have a customized meal plan program that consists of 24 days of all natural whole foods that's organized in the bags by the day. Also, that patient or client would get a daily multivitamin, an omega-3, and probiotic supplement. So here's a little bit about the meal program itself and also the behavior panel. So first, we look at 4 different types of diets, or 4 different types of macronutrient distribution. First, we have three different types of caloric distribution, around 1,300, 1,600, and 1,900. Then we break that down even to more specific, and this is where the individualized approach comes. So based on the results of the DNA test, we can look to see if someone is carbohydrate optimized, fat and carb optimized, fat optimized, or an optimized blend. And I'm going to show you that shortly of what that means in regards to the macronutrient percent breakdown. In addition, we also test SNPs that look at behavior, taste cravings, satiety binging. Does someone have certain hormones that might be elevated that cause them to eat more often, or they're hungry more often? Do they have certain cravings for salty foods, sugary foods? Those are types of SNPs that we do test for throughout this process. And I apologize, since we expanded the actual slides, this is going to be hard to truly see. So what we're going to make sure you guys get is a copy of this. We'll make sure I email a copy of all of these to all of the individuals that are watching this webinar, so you can see this much clearer and go through this. But we have a fat optimized plan where that diet will be about 25% fat, 20% protein, and about 55% carbohydrate. We'll have a carb optimized diet. That's going to be about 40% carbohydrate, 30% protein, and 30% fat. We'll have a fat and carb optimized diet. That'll be 45% carbohydrate, 20% fat, and 35% protein. And then an optimized blend, which will be about 55% carb, 25% fat, and 20% protein. So as you can see, based on the meal and macronutrient distribution, it's going to be different based on the results from those DNA tests. Also, we look at some exercise. So we look at exercise and muscle fiber distribution. We want to look at and see what type of individual and maybe what might be the best form of exercise for that individual. We don't give specific exercises, meaning we don't tell someone to squat or bench press or how much to run, but we can look at their muscle fiber types and determine, is this someone that maybe should be better suited for endurance, maybe better suited for weightlifting and power and resistance training activities, or do they have a fast or slow twitch fiber? And also, what type of intensity level should that individual start with? Is this based on maybe low intensity? Should someone start with maybe, do they get better results from vigorous intensity? And this was all based on the MET system, Okay, so we're getting some feedback that slide 4 is...
They're stuck, they can't hear anything.
Really? Okay. I don't know if it's the weather. Okay. So the program is stuck on slide 4. Okay. We're getting some feedback that everybody is stuck on slide 4.
And they can't hear anything.
Okay. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the weather or not. Okay.
Just moved. I'm still seeing the first slide. Yeah. We don't have a good screen.
Okay. Do you guys? I changed it from full screen now to short screen. Do you guys still? Do you see the slide on program placement? Okay. All right. What I want to do, and unfortunately, what I have to do is I have to go back inside the PowerPoint and move this. I'll start back here with the program. Okay. So what we wanted to do is, it seems like we got stuck on slide 4, so we'll kind of go back a little bit for you because there was some really important information that Dr. Carroll was talking about, specifically when we got to our effects on our DNA test. So what we'd like to do now is really talk about our study that we did. And I see the slide transition, it's moving better now, so hopefully that's just going to work. We're going to keep it in small screen for you guys so you can see this. We'll start with this next slide for Dr. Carroll to kind of go through information with our study we did locally with the company, and we'd like to present that data for you now.
Okay, hopefully. Okay. All right, well, we provided our food two volunteers at a local company in their who are interested in their wellness program, providing support to their wellness program. And we got about 70 volunteers. And over the course of 12 weeks, we provided our food to a group that were genetically matched to the macronutrient content. And we randomly selected individuals to be on a non-genetically matched diet, meaning they received the same food, but it did not correlate with their particular genetic profile for the macronutrient content that would be optimum for them. So what we learned was that, and what we expected, everyone in the program lost weight, and that's a good thing. But what we wanted to see is to show a difference in the effect of weight loss on individuals who were on the genetic diet versus those who were on a non-genetic diet. And over that 12 weeks, we saw beginning at 2 weeks, 64 weeks, a 43% reduction in weight in comparison to those who are on the non-genetic diet. So there's much more weight loss in those who are on a genetic diet versus non. And also the difference in the total amount of weight. We had individuals lose 15, 16 pounds, but the difference between those who were on a genetic diet, I'm showing in the next graph, on the same slide, the next graph, the total weight, average weight reduction in pounds was 7 pounds between those who were on a genetic diet versus a non-genetic diet over that time period. And so we also want to measure waist reduction. Waist circumference is a very important indicator of not only weight, but fat loss. All right, fat loss is very important because that's primarily what's contributing to some of the problems that people have. So if we can, the waist circumference between non-genetically matched and genetically matched, we showed a 56 to 33% reduction over 8 weeks, which began to trail off and normalize after 10 weeks. And then in the total number of inches difference between those who are our controls and those who are on a genetic diet was 31% more over that 12-week period, 2.5 inches difference between treated and control. The populations that we engaged were very similar to those in a study done in 2005, published in Journal of the American Medical Association, comparing Atkins Zone, Weight Watchers, and Ornish. And we, in our study, showed a very similar distribution of characteristics: age, gender, body weight, initial waist circumference. And what we observed after 3 months is that our BMI reduction is very similar, weight reduction similar, and a little better waist circumference reduction, which points again to our targeting fat loss and the maintenance of muscle mass in our study and in our program. And so overall, the Genevieve versus these other non-genetically determined diets gave us a 1.5 pound loss per week on average, and also a 36% compliance. Those on the other diets dropped out, and only about 21% remained at the end of 3 months. We maintained 36%, and we believe that is because we try to make our program compliance easy with the packaging of our food and with the kind of support that we give to our clients. So in the interest of developing our program, we enlisted a number of experts in the field of nutrition and genetics. Dr. Stephen Zeisel, professor at UNC, Dr. Barbara Ainsworth, professor in exercise and wellness at Arizona State University. Dr. Daniel Pomp, professor of genetics, nutrition, and cell molecular physiology at UNC. Dr. David Katz, who's the director of the Yale Prevention Research Center and the president of American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And Dr. Ruth DeBusk, who has been our champion and actually spearheaded our program. She is a dietitian as well as a geneticist who was able to help us understand how to combine nutrition and genetics and focus on weight management. So from our analysis, from our accumulated evidence from the literature, we developed some criteria and we identified SNPs that were important to weight management. SNP stands for single nucleotide polymorphisms. And those criteria included function, impact, weight association, supported with human intervention studies, and have diet and lifestyle implications, meaning that they can effectively be targeted for improving diet and exercise. The SNP panel, as you can see there are about 12 for diet, another 6 for exercise, and another 6 for eating behavior. And we place these SNPs in our patent-pending proprietary algorithm to determine an individual's meal program and exercise requirements.
Well, thank you, Dr. Carroll. That was great. I'm sorry again about the hiccups that we've had. We're going to get that fixed for the next webinar. And I think, there's some issues on a couple of different sides. Some people are having issues with their sound. We're having some issues with our weather and also trying to get some of the slides to show. What I'd like to do now is just give you a quick overview of our program, how the program works. Specifically, we're a DNA testing company. So with our weight loss program, we do really a simple cheek swab. And basically the way this works, and I'll show you a little bit of a better format coming up in another slide, but really shows you a simple cheek swab within our CLIA certified lab. We test for 22 SNPs, and these results run through our proprietary algorithm that was designed by our scientific advisory team. So we really look for the right SNPs. We test for the SNPs that are backed by science and also by our recommended advisory team. With that, we have a very comprehensive report. These report details diet, exercise, eating preference recommendations that are delivered to the ordering healthcare professional via our HIPAA compliant server using Watchdog. So a lot of doctors ask us, and a lot of healthcare professionals want to know, how is the report provided to them? And we want to make sure, and they want to make sure it's secure. Through the Watchdogs, it is a HIPAA compliant server. That way you get a secured file with your patient or your client's information. And then shortly I'll talk about our customized meal program. Really, this is a home delivered meal program. We have it shipped monthly to the client or patient, and it has 3 meals and 2 snacks for each day. Also includes a daily multi, a probiotic, and omega-3. So let's talk a little bit about the breakdown of the program. How does this work? Well, we look at really 3 different types of calorie levels. Really, when it comes to eating behavior and nutrition, we want to look at 1,300, 1,600, and 1,900 are the 3 different calorie levels we base our food program on. But we go a little bit more deeper than that, and we really look at the individualized approach. We want to look at carbohydrate optimized, fat and carb optimized, fat optimized, and optimized blend. And I'll explain that shortly on this next slide. In addition, we look at behavior, we look at taste, and we look at satiety. So do some people really crave certain foods based on their profile? Yes, they do. Do some people have hormones that increase their hunger or shut off their hunger? Yes, they do. So we look at some of those specific SNPs that will test for that. In this slide, and again, since we changed the format of the presentation, it's going to be hard to see the breakdown, but I'll walk you through this. Really, we have 4 different options. Fat optimized, which is going to be 25% protein, 20% fat, and 55% carbohydrate. We have a carb optimized plan, 30% protein, 30% fat and 40% carbohydrate. Our fat and carb optimized plan is going to be a blend of 20% fat, 35% protein, and 45% carbohydrate. And then an optimized blend, 20% protein, 25% fat, and 55% carbohydrate. Again, we'll get you these slides so you can see this in a much clearer production than what you see currently. In addition to the meal planning piece, we also have our DNA testing piece for exercise and muscle fiber distribution. This is important when the individual is trying to determine what's the best form of exercise for them to either manage their weight, lose body fat, but also something they're probably going to stick to based on enjoyment. So with these exercise recommendations, we can look at muscle fiber distribution and determine, is this person better suited for endurance exercise, power training, resistance training, based on their type of fast or slow twitch fibers. In addition, we also can give them recommendations based on the level of intensity. Is this low intensity? Is this a vigorous intensity? And this we base this on the MET system that was designed by Dr. Barbara Ainsworth. We worked with her closely to come up with a program that really bases it on the MET system. This is all inside the client or patient report. They have specifics on that in there. With our meal program, we really, a lot of questions we get are what sets your meal program apart in regards to other programs? Really, it's high quality and natural ingredients. It's clean foods. There's no additives. There's no preservatives. There's a good source of fiber in our meals, so they feel sustained for an extended period of time. It's also convenient and easy to follow, and there's a nice preset menu for those individuals to have. No growth hormones, no antibiotics, no preservatives, no BHA or BHT, no colors, no nitrates, no sulfates, no incidental ingredients that could pop up or that you see in a lot of foods today that are inside stores and inside meal programs. This is just kind of a sample of what a day menu would look like. And again, it's a little because we had to adjust the format. But as you can see, this gives you a 6-day menu of the type of foods you would get if that person was on a fat controlled diet or a fat optimized and fat carb controlled diet. And you can see some of the different options that they have here from day one breakfast to all the way through dinner. And again, we're focusing on smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. So they're never, our goal is to educate them about eating every 3 to 4 hours. Again, how does the program work? With our meal program, it's really 1 month of food, 24 days of meal kits, 6 days a week. And we recommend they have 1 free day so they can enjoy some of the food that they want to eat on their own. This is really a great Kickstarter program to any weight loss plan because you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 2 snacks are included in each bag. There's a menu for them to follow. So they get the menu from day 1 all the way to day 24. And on the bags, it tells them what day to follow. So if they're someone who is rigorous and they're going to follow day 1 through 24, which we highly recommend they do, everything is spelled out for them. Again, we have a high quality multivitamin, omega-3, and probiotic supplement that helps us with general inflammation, that helps with gut health, and it helps with them obtaining nutrients that they may not be getting if they're not eating well-balanced foods. All of this is shelf-stable, microwave-safe packaging. It's BPA-free. It has a 2-year shelf life. So that's one of the real conveniences with our food program. And all food orders are shipped directly from Genevieve's warehouse to the actual client. Why Genevieve and what makes Genevieve unique? Well, when we look at some of the other popular diets on the program, especially like an Ideal Protein or Medifast, we're based on DNA testing. This is really the now and the future of where weight management is going to go. It's going to be all individualized. Some of these other programs really, they do work from a quick fix standpoint, but they don't really teach habits. They don't teach lifestyle management, and they don't focus on the long-term weight loss and long-term weight management. We're also supported by research. We focus on sustainable and safe weight loss. Also with our program, we'll talk about there's no upfront cost. There's no minimum contract requirement. And also, you can't purchase this anywhere. You have to work with a healthcare provider such as yourself. This is where only the patient and the client can access Genevieve. We don't even do direct to consumer. We do directly just from healthcare provider to the client. We also provide a comprehensive client report. We have a registered dietitian on staff for support. And we also have an online and phone application that can be used. Again, why Genevieve? We talked about the no upfront cost. The results are sent to you in 10 business days once it receives our lab. Our food program is a direct ship to client and patient.
And also, it's a great, excellent ancillary revenue opportunity that I want to show you in this next slide. So here's just kind of a breakdown for individuals. When they're looking to add this type of program, we've had a lot of successful healthcare providers that are partners with Genevieve. And just to kind of give you an overview, just as from the testing cost. So if we look at this piece just from the testing, if you do the DNA test, this is just a general performer to show you what your potential is with your business. With the cost of the DNA test currently at $119, the average healthcare provider charges around $250 for that test. And this is at 8 tests per month with a ramp up over time as you grow your business. You can see the growth that is involved. And really, it's about an average of 1.5 tests a day. So you can really get an idea and you can create your own metrics based on the volume of patients and clients that you see in your practice. If you're someone who's partnered with a multi-chain company, then you can see there's probably a little bit of a larger growth. If you're a single provider, you can come up with your estimates to get an idea of what those projections look like. This is also our food program. So our cost to you is $2.99. That's about $13 a day for 3 meals and 2 snacks. That's impossible sometimes to even buy lunch for that price for most people. So the average healthcare provider is charging around $5.49. Some charge more, some charge less. You determine what you would want to charge to your client or patient. So this is just to give you an idea of what that performer would look like based on the volume that you would see or expect in your practice. Based on this data, about $198,000 in revenue. Again, this is if you did 1.5 tests per day. That's just from the DNA. You can make adjustments based on your volume, and also testing and food service expenses overall, minus those expenses would be your overall net profit for the entire year. So it's a great option. It's a great inclusion inside of your business model to include if you're not including DNA testing. That includes the webinar. Again, I want to apologize for any technical difficulties we've had on our side. We're going to get those definitely corrected for the next webinar. We did a lot of testing on our side prior to, and everything worked just fine. But obviously with the bad weather, some challenges that we've had with our server, then maybe we're having some challenges on that side. If you have any questions and you'd like to email us directly, here is Dr. Carol and I's email address. You can always reach out to us here. If you have any questions to our customer service team, you can always reach us at 1-855-362-6325. You can also email our customer service team at info@genevieve.com. What I'd like to do now is open the floor to questions. I'm going to go ahead and look and see if anybody has any questions. Please do that. It looks like most people, when we were able to make those adjustments, it seems like the majority of you guys were able to see that. I know in some of the other countries that were on, they were having some challenges with the actual sound. I'm not sure if that was on your side or our side. A lot of our internal folks that were watching said the sound was fine once we made some adjustments. But are there any questions that you guys would have on your side? And we'll stick around as long as needed to make sure that we answer those questions. And yes, for those of you that had some more questions that about if we can send you a copy of the presentation, yes, we can. So again, we apologize for any technical difficulties we had on our side. We'll make sure we get that corrected moving forward. So one of the questions coming in is, can you tell us if you found any weight loss difference between the different profiles on your study? And I'll let Dr. Carroll go ahead and answer that one.
Well, in the study that I showed you, we had 70 individuals, and they were matched to their genetic profiles, whether fat optimized, carb optimized, fat and carb, or blended. And to tell you the truth, we did not have enough in number to dissect out the individual dietary programs and compare that to control. We need quite a number of individuals to be able to really discriminate between controls and one diet versus the next. I think that's a good question. That's an excellent question, and that's one we're going to pursue. What we ultimately like to see is our patients who are on other dietary programs and find that Genevieve has worked much more efficiently for them. And to us, that's a true test of the fact that a genetically matched diet improves on compliance, improves on fat loss in our patients.
The next question that's coming in is, how do you convince people to do both the test and the food? And really that's based on the provider. We've had a lot of providers that have had success when it comes to what has worked with their patients in the past, especially when a lot of people have tried all different types of diets. They may be, they may feel that they've tried just about everything. But what has really helped the providers is the fact that we're a DNA company with research to support, our program. Also, we also give providers the ability to maybe taste some samples to give to to taste themselves, and also to maybe give to a few of their clients to see what they think. So that is things that is, with our local providers and some of our national providers, we've worked with them when they've signed up. We've given them a few samples of options to taste so they can get an idea of what that's going to work. And also for them, we're open to where for those that do sign up, we'll give you a test to where you can try that test on yourself and then get the report. We're happy to send you a copy of a report now so you can see what that report looks like. So everybody whose email address that's registered will send you a copy of a sample report so you can see the comprehensive nature behind that, as well as work with you if you would like to sign up as a provider. Another question is, when my patients do the meal program, most of the times they experience a lot of discomfort, gas, distension. Could you tell me the reason why that is? And that could be due because they are not used to eating a lot of fiber. That's usually the primary reason. Our meals are high in fiber. The average American or average individual, whether they're American or not, consumes about 10 to 15 grams of fiber a day, when their fiber intake should be between 35 and 50 grams a day. So when they're going from a low fiber diet to a higher fiber diet, especially when some of the foods are fortified with inulin, that is going to increase a little bit of that distension initially. That is the benefit of taking that probiotic. That probiotic will counter that, because inside the food there's a prebiotic. So when you take your probiotic, that should counter that and avoid that problem. Paolo says, what can you say about the use of medications like orlistat when we have the SNP in FABP2, or the use of metformin in the individuals that have the SNP in ILE6? And I'll let Dr. Carroll answer that one.
Okay. All right, Paolo. The question regarding SNP analysis and the use of medication is one that I get often. And what you have to understand is there's no validation, to my knowledge, in clinical trials to suggest that a single SNP variation would inform a physician on the type of medication that they should give a patient. This is an analysis that has not been validated or approved for use by physicians. So if you're getting an analysis of a SNP in FAB2, for instance, and then they're suggesting a certain medication. Metabolism is very complex, and so the reason we use 22 SNPs is because there is no single SNP that is more important than another. It's actually the combination of it. And the same would be true for providing your patients with medication. There has to be a combination of things that are working in that patient to necessitate medication, and a single SNP is not sufficient evidence to do that. Metformin and IL-6, again, for the same reasons, I would not consider that there's strong enough evidence to support a single SNP analysis as a recommendation for medication.
Based on Carol's question, Carol has talked about inulin being a real challenge for those with IBS, and absolutely. Now, inulin is not in the probiotic. It's in some of the food options. It's in some of our meals. So not all of our meals are going to have inulin, but they may, if they have IBS, that may be a challenge for some who have a difficulty consuming fiber. So we just have to look and see what options might be best for that individual if we're trying to, if they're trying to lose weight and control their IBS at the same time, which is always poses a challenge. So that is a great question. Carol also asked about, do you use all 22 SNPs in your assessment?
That's correct. We use all 22 SNPs when we do an analysis, and we provide you with the information in your report. I also want to mention to you that the responsibility really to use our results in treating your patients is something I think should be left in your hands. If your patient has medical conditions, if they have a condition like IBS or diabetes or heart condition, those are decisions that a physician must make. And we all understand that diet and activity are important and affect overall health or the lack thereof. And so our strategy is to help with weight reduction. And so if you have health issues within your patients, then you have to position Genevieve in such a way that you can mitigate your issues with that patient as you see necessary.
Marlene has a great question about, do we measure long-term weight loss for the clients? And we don't measure your clients' weight loss. That's really, we leave that up to the healthcare provider, how they want to measure that. We don't tell you how to measure that. We give you the tools to measure that. But, every healthcare provider has a different approach on how they want to track their clients. Because some might not see their client for a year, or you might have certain services to where you might want to see your client every month and follow up and weigh and measure them and track their body fat. So we really leave that up to the healthcare provider on how to do that. With our study, we looked at 3 months, and that was just what we felt was going to be a good initial data to give us data on the first 3 months for that study. But the most important piece, as everyone knows with any type of weight loss program, whether it's Genevieve or any food program, it's, well, how does that person do a year later? And we've, based on personal response with our clients and our healthcare providers, we've had a lot of success. But it's hard to give you concrete data because we don't strictly measure that. We leave that up to the healthcare provider. Tanya says she has many patients with multiple food allergies, including gluten. Can the meal plan accommodate this? If not, can these patients still do the testing and use the data? Yes. So, for those meals that include gluten, that are not gluten-free, obviously, if they have celiac or have a really strong gluten sensitivity, then yeah, you do want to avoid those foods that would cause issues. But absolutely, those patients can still do the testing. And as the provider, you can make the adjustments that you see fit to work with them. We're looking at some options in the future that will give you guys more data to help them do that. But, we do have a lot of food options that are gluten-free that can be included as part of their meal program if they have a condition that needs to avoid gluten. Jimena says we usually have issues explaining the patients to the balanced diet. They just think they should eat everything, and we normally have less weight loss results with them. Do you think we should make a special focus on eating very little animal food sources? No, not necessarily. I mean, I think when you remove animal food sources, you remove an important component of protein. Protein is thermogenic and improves metabolic rate because the body takes a lot longer to break protein down. So I don't think it has anything to do with animal sources. There's been enough studies with protein and that included animal sources that have had a lot of success with that individual. So I'm not sure why, patients that might be having a little bit more trouble or losing less weight on the OBL, do you feel their compliance is where it should be? Are they eating any foods outside of following the meal plan? So those are some other questions probably we would ask on our side is, how closely are they following their calorie needs? Do they, on their free days, are they maybe eating more than they should? And on the days that they're following the Genevieve program, are they adding any additional foods? Paulo says we wish to see the study with the comparison of individuals in the 4 base genetic profiles and how they lose weight because we not have the same successful results. Do we want to show that slide, or is that something you want to comment on, Dr. Carroll?
Well, so this is again looking at differences between the individual diets. Again, that analysis we weren't able to do in our current study. But I could speak with you offline, Paulo, to find out what it is you're not having success with. Sometimes, like in Gemma's question before, compliance, if a patient is on a diet that is considered a balanced diet, then their compliance is, and I've seen this, has been a lot less than those who are on a strictly carb optimized or fat optimized. And it has really nothing to do with the diet. It has to do with their appreciation for it and willingness to, follow through with the food as prescribed. People who are considered to have a balanced diet tend to be less compliant because they think they can eat anything because there's really nothing specific that they need to focus on. I have some data, not on this current presentation, to show some differences, but these were not in a controlled study between the 4 food groups. And I'd be happy to talk with you about that if you send me an email.
We're going to take one more question because we want to be respectful of everyone's time. It's 12 o'clock, so we do want to wrap up shortly at 12 o'clock Central here. I'm sure it's, an hour past your time there. So last question from Anna. It's actually from Tatiana. I think it'd be very interesting to add the behavior panel to the next study because sometimes satiety or exercise level has a big influence on how people lose weight. Absolutely. So that is something that, Dr. Carroll's, working with the folks at Harvard. We're also looking at some other studies as well in the near future to really expand those profiles. The study we just completed was really the first, local study that we've looked at with some, with a big group. We're looking to expand upon that, and I'll let him comment on that.
Yes, Tatiana, the behavioral panel, as we indicate in the report, is really designed to help the health professional counsel their patient on how to eat, what to eat, when to eat. It does not, the behavioral SNPs are not involved in calculating the particular diet that the patient should be on. We use our SNPs, we use BMI, age, gender to make those determinations for the type of diet. And the behavioral panel is really designed to inform you on how that patient should be eating. Do they crave sweets? Do they have an aversion to bitter foods? Are they satiated when they eat? And those are the types of questions that I think genetics gives you a leg up on in helping to understand how your patients are eating and how they're responding to the diet.
Well, thank you guys for the time today. With the technical difficulties we have, we'll get everybody a copy of the presentation so you can see that. We'll send it to your inbox before the end of the day today. If you have any direct questions and you need to email us directly and you'd like to expand upon the questions, again, you can email us either, and I'm going to put that slide up again right now so you can see our email addresses so you can have that. And then feel free to reach out to Dr. Carroll and I at any time. We're happy to answer any questions. And if you need to call us, you can call us at this number and they can get you in touch with us. So again, thank you guys for the time today. We appreciate you spending the last hour with us, and we hope to be in communication with you guys very soon.
Thank you very much.